Okay, we'll go to some considerations, Vince.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do, let's just talk about some practicalities. If your deposit that you need for the new home to you is $20,000 or $50,000, no, it wouldn't be $20,000. We'll call it, if you needed a $100,000 deposit, you don't have to have the whole deposit that's in this scheme. You can save $20,000 or $10,000 in this scheme, or, oh crap, I do want to buy a house next Thursday. Oh, I'll flush $15,000 through now and then put that $15,000 back towards the house and get a small tax win on the way through. And you could work that out based on if you're in that tax range, you're going to be saving money.
Yeah.
Like that's at the end of the day, it's a tax strategy. So it doesn't need to be the full amount.
Correct.
If there was a couple, both can use these schemes respectively for the one joint house to both live in.
As long as they are both first home buyers.
Yes.
Yep. So the only qualification here really is you've got to be first home buyer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you qualify for whatever stamp duty exemptions or first home grant or first home buyer guarantee scheme or any of these other government schemes. The only condition is that you are a first home buyer.
Yeah. So
and a taxpayer and over 18.
That's right. Well, and that your super fund does participate in the scheme. So
but you can always move it to another fund.
That's right. So some considerations here, as we've said, you can only do it once in your lifetime, $15,000 per year within the caps, maximum $50,000. It can be concessional or non-concessional. Check your super fund does do it. Now, this is the bit that I wanted to talk about. Since 2017, if you have been salary sacrificing to superannuation, Vince, if you have been, I'm going to do future me a little favour and put more money in my super each month since 2017, you, my friends, may have a house deposit and not even know it.
That's right. So just go to MyGov and have a look. Just on that point about concessionals and non-concessionals and not knowing what you might have in your fund, is that there are some employers, particularly government employers, who previously paid more than the SGC amount.
As a match? Or
just as an additional contribution.
Like a benefit.
Just as an employee benefit. When the rules around the fund that you could put it in and some of the enterprise bargains changed, the excess bit became a non-concessional contribution. And non-concessional contributions are not as attractive in this deal as concessional ones. And your concessions come out in the order they went in. So you do need to double-check what your concessionals were. This is all in MyGov, so go log in, have a look. And that you said not all super funds participate, so obviously check with your super fund. You can always fix it by rolling the money into another super fund that does at the last minute. Yeah. Obviously fees.
Terms, charges, conditions, read the PDS, that's all that. This was filmed on a confined circuit with a professional driver, all the fine print. Yes. But I just want to touch on a couple of things there. Let's now potentially talk about the process, how that plays out. Then we'll come back and talk about changing your mind and all that stuff. So I've been diligently salary sacrificing to super the last few years, and I've just learned that I might have a home deposit in my super and not know it. Or I've been using this scheme since 2018. And I want to buy a property. You have to go to your super fund.
Yeah. So the route is ATO first, get a determination.
Yes.
You can do that online as many times as you want. MyGov it works really well. Once you've got your determination, you can then apply to your super fund to get the money back, and it will just turn up in your bank account.
And that's a similar way when you need to get money out of super for surgery or...
Just there's no tax. Well, there's a different tax applies. But broadly it's the same process.
Because basically how the super funds work, they can only release money as per preservation rules and all the conditions of release.
And this is one of them.
And this is one of them. But they need formal notification that we can do this.
Yeah. And you need to do that before you sign the contract.
Because once you sign a contract, you purchase the place.
That's right.
And now when you put the determination in, have you ever purchased a first home ever before? You're like, no, I haven't. Well, yeah, because lunchtime yesterday you signed that contract.
Yeah.
So
you want to do this,
over.
So you do this before you sign the contract, and the money turns up in your bank account. You don't actually have to use those specific dollars for your deposit, but you do have to buy a property after getting your determination.
Yeah. And that leads into auctions. So you would have as part of... Do you know the time period once you've got the determination that the individual super funds can act on it?
It's pretty quick. With SuperStream now, this stuff is all happening.
Yeah, within a few days.
Within days.
No, but I mean, so if I logged into MyGov tomorrow, got a determination, went to my super fund, like, are they going to act on a determination that I did 4 months ago?
Yeah, I mean they...
Well, you'd want to do it just before anyway for the up-to-date.
So you can do as many determinations as you want.
Right.
So just keep it up to date, but make sure you do it before you actually sign the contract. It works really well. I mean, this has become such a standard. When it first came in 2018, did we say 2017?
17, yeah.
17. It was a bit clunky.
Yeah.
But they've integrated this stuff all into MyGov so well, and now almost everyone has a MyGov account, that it's just become so easy, and it just works.
So ATO, then super fund, then the super fund will pay this money just back into your everyday bank account that you nominate.
Yep.
Now, if you did have extra cash or you borrowed some money from your parents, because or whatever that is, it all comes out in the wash. You've used that amount for your first home.
And there's no check that says you use those specific dollars for your house. So you could save that for your furniture or pay your stamp duty or...
But you have actually purchased the first home.
Yeah. So you then have to tell the tax office that you bought a home.
Yeah.
And that now clears the slate.
Yeah. And you would do that at the first tax return after you've been paid out.
You lodge a form for it. There is a time frame, which I think might be 12 months, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
And if you... Yes, I think it's 12 months, and you can get an extension for another 12. So it's between getting the money and buying the house, because you might miss out on that auction. So there is some flexibility. And then if you don't buy a house within the time and you've taken the money out, you have two choices. You can put it back.
As the first home super scheme, so it restores, it goes back in?
No, it loses its character, I think. I'm not quite sure about that one. I have to double check that one, but I'd be fairly confident that it loses its character and is then now subject to the normal conditions release.
Yeah, so you really, and because I think anytime I've done content on this, I'm like, just be careful around auctions with this stuff because...
But you can always do the determination, go to auction, and that's fine. Or you can just take the money and you've got a 12 months and then potentially another 12 months. So when you get serious, when you're getting that close to buying, be prepared is the short answer. And if you don't want to put it back, you can keep it and just pay a little bit extra tax.
Okay, so that's in the same vein as changing your mind. So I've gone along life saving for my first home, realised that, real estate's nuts at the moment. I'm not going to buy my first home to live in because I'm going to rent an apartment in the city where I work. Yeah. I'm going to buy an investment property elsewhere.
Or I'm going to move to London.
All that stuff. You can do the determination to get the money out and not buy the house.
Correct. You now pay a little bit of a penalty tax of 20%.
Yeah.
So the net effect of all of that is, so for our 32% taxpayer, you're on that $1,000 you pay a net additional $250 in tax, which leaves you with $975 compared to the $1,000 you would have had you never played this game.
Yeah.
So as an option fee, $25 sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah. I think any young person should use this scheme
Yeah.
as a hedge.
Yeah. So if you think you're going to buy a house in the next
5 years.
decade, well,
Whatever.
I always talk about a decade as
Yeah.
being long enough that if you're 25, the average first-home buyer is now 35. So, and a decade is long enough for the scheme not to be abolished. So if you're the 32% taxpayer, you're going to pay an extra $250 in tax, leaving you $25 worse off than if you'd never played the game. The $135,000 to $190,000 taxpayer ends up paying an extra $278, so they're about $11 worse off than if they've never played the game. And for our $190,000 to $250,000, they're actually better off than if they'd never played the game. So they end up with $1,010. It doesn't look very good at all if you are in that greater than $250,000. So,
and that's another silver lining. If you have been salary sacrificing to super for many years and you have not purchased a first home and you are not planning to purchase a first home, you might do a determination and get some money back out of super if your plans have changed and you want to buy a holiday around the world, which we're not advocating, pulling money out of super to spend now. But the reality is, if you're a person that's never, ever purchased a home and you've been salary sacrificing or put non-concessional contributions in, you can get that money back out of super by doing this determination. But there is a little exit penalty, which is not a showstopper.
No. And in fact, if you earn between 190 and 250, you're actually better off marginally. I don't think I'd do the strategy just for the extra $10.
No.
But as a worst case that says, I've changed my mind, I'm never going to buy a home
to live in.
and I don't want to leave the money there till I turn 60. So that's a lot of conditions that you got to be concerned about to make this worse off. So the only other thing that we see quite a bit of at Life Sherpa is KiwiSaver.
Yeah, talk to us
which
about
has
that.
an interesting interworking with this here. So if you move from New Zealand and you've got a KiwiSaver balance in New Zealand, if you stayed in New Zealand, you could use that to buy your first home. If you haven't done so in New Zealand, you can transfer your KiwiSaver to Australia if you move to Australia. There's only a handful of funds that support this, and that money will also be available to withdraw to buy for your first home.
Or change your mind.
And the trick for young players here is that your KiwiSaver transfer from New Zealand to Australia will be counted as a non-concessional contribution. And because...
But in Kiwi land, does it go into the KiwiSaver pre-tax? And
there
tax?
is that concession tax, yeah. So, but if it's already in there and you move... I'm not sure you'd want to be doing this preemptively. If you lived in New Zealand and thought you might move to Australia in a decade, that's probably a bit too far beyond the pale. But if you've got a KiwiSaver and you've moved to Australia, the money comes across as a non-concessional contribution, so it doesn't count against your $30,000 cap.
Oh, I thought you said concessional.
No, non-concessional.
Right.
And this is where it gets a bit tricky. So when you're getting your determination for your first home super saver, your contributions come out in the order they went in. So if you've been making a mixture of concessional and non-concessionals, you've got to be careful what order you do them in. And generally you don't want to be making non-concessionals in any year where you haven't already used your $15,000 concessionals for first-time super saver. So if you are bringing money across from a KiwiSaver, you probably want this to be the last contribution before you withdraw it. Or in a year, or in the last year after you've made your $15,000, so that you can pull it out without it. If you do get the timing right, you actually get that as well as the $50,000 through the super. But lots of moving parts there. We do a lot of KiwiSaver transfers.
The only other thing that we touched on it a little bit earlier. I'm probably a fan of this, even though there might be an additional account fee, just for your own sanity and quarantining. Have a separate super fund just for your home saving.
Yeah, I mean, that does make it neat. The downside, and administrative simplicity is always a good thing. The downside is that you might not have enough cash in it to pay out the deemed earnings.
If there was a downturn.
Yeah. Or if you've invested in cash, for example, which is one of the good reasons to keep it separate. Now, you can fix that by rolling over money from your other super fund.
After you get the determination.
Yeah. So some of our members keep it in a cash account within their normal super fund. You can't always just take it from the cash piece depending on the fund you're in.
I don't think you can tell your employer to pay my salary sacrifice into a second fund.
You can. Well, if you've got a segregated account, like if you're in a wrap account,
yes,
you can manage that process.
That's right.
But not in a standard.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think practically, because it is the dance. If you're hell-bent on, I want a separate super fund just for my home savings, you'd probably just do a weekly post-tax contribution.
Possibly, yep.
Into that separate super fund, put it in the 50-50 split, conservative, 50% growth, whatever. And then you just, in June every year, all the contributions that have gone into that separate account, you've just got to do a notice of intent to claim.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a bit of a tax return at the end of the year.
Yeah. So this is a trade-off between administrative simplicity, the psychology of knowing it's a separate pool, and the dealing with, what happens if the market doesn't deliver the deemed return.
And this is probably in finishing why a lot of people don't use this, because it's scary. Oh, what if I put money in and I can't get it out? Or how do I get it out? I don't know why the federal government just didn't say we're giving every first home buyer $5,000 extra grant. But it's clunky, it's messy.
Yeah. Or just allow everyone to take $50,000 out of their super fund to pay for their deposit.
Yeah, whatever.
It is unnecessarily complicated, but it is, the closest you can get to a no-brainer in personal finance. And so if you are earning under $250,000 and you're a first home buyer and you think you might buy a house in the next decade to live in, like if you were planning on rent vesting, this is not a strategy for you.
Yeah, so I've got friends, they haven't purchased their first home yet, they're renting. I'll send this clip to them, initials B and J.
B and Q.
They need to start doing this. As, they're a couple, they've probably got first home savings. Just start doing this. Even if you both set up a separate super fund each, like I'll help you. I won't give advice, but because it's just up to $7,650 per person of free money. Now,
and that's my favourite sort.
But this is the weird thing. You're not seeing that as a lump in your bank account.
Yeah.
But as time goes on and when the wash-up happens, you'll have more money.
Yeah. And the psychology for me is that if you could have saved $1,000, you can now see $1,250 more in your super fund.
Yeah.
And if you keep looking at your balance from time to time, you can see this building up.
Yeah.
Go onto MyGov, do a determination to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're a first home buyer and you are going to buy a home before you buy an investment property, and you earn under $250,000 or more than $45,000, you should seriously consider this.
Yeah.
There's very little reason why you shouldn't be doing this.
Cool. So,
Even if you're in a defined benefit scheme. So you might be in a government defined benefit scheme, whether you're in the military or working for a university. You can do this in a separate fund. So you don't have to do it.
That's right. Yeah. So look, if you want quarantined money for your first home, if you want to save money, this is for you.
Yeah. There are very few no-brainers in personal finance, and this is one of them.
Hey, it's Glen here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.